Monkey Man is in theaters right now, and it's a good movie, man. Directed by Dev Patel, starring Dev Patel. The trailers made it look like it was going to be sort of like, well, uh, John Wick. They say John Wick from India in this because he fights in a suit in the trailers, I guess. And people just kind of like, well, that looks a little bit like John Wick. He knows how to fight. He takes out bad guys. Its first hour is really, really well paced. They establish who he is and what he wants very well. And then about halfway through, it transforms into a different film, and that may not work for some people. I didn't say this in my straight out of the theater reaction, but it's a surprisingly spiritual film, which I admired. Let's go over to the IMDb and I'll read you the synopsis. An anonymous young man unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless. Dev Patel, as his first directing gig, I thought did a fairly decent job. Produced by Jordan Peele, right? Peter Bash, Vipin Sharma does a really good job in this. He appears about after that halfway mark. Rana is the bad guy. Yeah, he's like the big bad guy, henchman kind of thing. Sikander Kur. He does a good job too. Fairly menacing. And he does a lot of action scenes too. I'm sorry if I'm butchering their names. Ashwini Aleskar is Queenie Kapoor. When I first heard it, I was like, Queenie Kapoor? No, Queenie Kapoor. Huh? Anyway, it was fun, the first hour. It was cool to see Charlton Copley back on the big screen. I haven't seen him in, when was the last time? Elysium? Old Boy? No, he's made smaller projects. He's a good actor. Really good actor. He just plays kind of like this ring announcer who does this underground kind of boxing arena kind of thing. And when he has to ham it up, he hams it up. And he does a good job. I dug it. And I like the relationship between Peter Bash and Dev Patel's character, who I can't tell you his name. Kid. Because I don't think they ever say his name. He just goes and does things. He's consumed with the people responsible for killing his mother. And he just wants vengeance. And when that part of the story drives you, you're totally on board with it. And as I said, there's going to be people that will not like that transition from that story of vengeance to the part where he kind of has to recuperate, and you learn a little bit more about the spiritual side of things, about like where he's coming from and stuff, because he goes and tries to complete his mission, but he hesitates, and that costs him. And it goes into this kind of side story. We learn more about the relationship with the mother and trees and roots, and I liked all of that stuff. That kept me on board with it. But for some people, they'll be saying stuff like, "Well, that totally derailed the movie for me. We could have cut all that stuff out and just kept the action and kept the gore. Get more Sholto up there." Of course, he does come back in the end, and it goes about the way that you would think in a very John Wickian style. And all of it was filmed, I think, for the most part, fairly well. It does get into a little bit too much of that shaky camera stuff for me, a little bit on the touch, too much on that aspect. But overall, I thought it was a fairly solid outing. For Dev Patel. Let's go over to my score sheet and start filling in some numbers for Monkey Man. Acting, directing, and story out of a possible 2 points each. Cinematography and score out of a possible 1 point. Acting overall. Now, there's no Academy Award winning performance in here. But not 13. Oh, mercy. 1.5 for acting. Because Dev Patel. And then, of course, as I said, that kind of sage type character that comes in later on halfway through, who kind of like guides him spiritually. Why are you doing this? What are you doing this for? Kind of thing. I liked all of that stuff, and the performance from was it Barman? Uh, he did a good job. Um, Directing as a first outing, there's a fairly decent attempt. And what I liked about it was because it seemed like he was a little bit not hamstrung, but handcuffed by the budget of this movie, which was only around 10 million or so. And what they were able to achieve, I thought, was fairly good. I liked the story. I'm going to actually give the story a 1.5. Whoops, because I feel that it warrants it. And I may want to go back and revisit the directing. I may boost up the directing. Cinematography, it's a bit dark at times at night. Uh, but I actually am going to give cinematography a full point because aside from the shaky cam stuff, as I said, if you it's not as grotesque as say like the later Born, like Born Legacy. It's just it's not like that. But you can tell that was heavily inspired by it. It's watchable, right? So where we're sitting, 5.5. Hmm. Now you know what? I am going to give directing the full 1.5. And it's nothing Oscar worthy, right? But we're getting up there, 6 out of 10 thus far for Monkey Man. Let's go over to the tomato meter and see what people are saying about it. See if we can kind of agree with some of the snapshot reviews. 87 by critics, 83 by the audience. So we're on pace here to all be like in a consensus here, all around, which is good. Let's see what people are saying. Richard Roper. Dev Patel comes out swinging in the monumentally entertaining and bare-knuckled revenge flick. And it has some good comedy, guys. Mostly from Peter Bash. That you kind of think that he's a real butthead in the beginning. Kind of like the Biff Tannen of the Monkey Man universe, right there, this guy. But then you're kind of like, you like him towards the end. Because he gets, well, something happens to him. He gets put in a situation where it's kind of like, he's either going to be the full bad guy or you're starting to almost like sympathize with his situation. Which is, but that's a testament to the directing and the execution of that part of the story from Dev Patel. Vipin Sharma, sorry, not Vipin Sharma is the sage type character. When that whole part of the story, he gets fished out of a river and kind of nursed back to health. I like that part. Because there was a gentleness to the way that he was talking about it. Should we see it? Find a sugary or caffeinated beverage, pour it into a sippy cup, and let a toddler drink it down. What? What kind of a review is that? Oh, mercy. Monkey Man is a thrilling over-the-top action flick catapulting Patel into a new genre and a lane for his cinematic legacy moving forward. Yeah, he's got a lot of good stuff here that he can build on, and it makes me feel good. But yeah, he understands the craft. Well, he understands acting, but he also understands like the craft of making films, right? Monkey Man is exciting, bloody, and impressive, and is an impressive entree by Patel into the role of director. So more, as you can see, it's like, is there any bad reviews in here? Let's see if we can find one. And who's it going to be from? Let me guess. It's going to be from Matt Donato. I respect the guy's opinion, but my God, are we most of the time at different ends of the spectrum? Anyway, if you've ever seen my review for The First Omen, you know what I'm talking about. On the other hand, the way Monkey Man all but fetishizes extreme violence raises the suspicion that the other stuff is just an excuse for him to unleash his inner Bruce Lee. Well, no, you just weren't paying attention to the spiritual side of things. About the roots and going into the earth, and there's a great line here from Vipin where it's kind of like he's like giving him some root kind of like thing where it makes him like internalize his inner demons, and he says a really awesome line where it's kind of like, you'll know it's done when you finish feeling pain, kind of thing, right? Anyway, yeah, it's got some good dialogue in it. Although it's a well-made film for the genre, the relentless violence, brutality, and mayhem are so disturbing I can't recommend it. Well, then you definitely won't like movies like The First Omen, or you definitely won't like Immaculate if you don't like disturbing violence. Because Immaculate, oh boy. And that's something that The First Omen really didn't have. It didn't have that, oh boy. I guess maybe it tried to with human body parts. But anyway, I want to find another one who didn't like it. Well, there's two right there, James. All right, last one who didn't like it. Monkey Man is great at tone, evoking a scuzzy and corrupt underworld brilliantly, but often that vibe is all it has, an exercise in style over substance. Hmm. That's an interesting take. Style over substance. But there is style. Yeah, there's style, but there's also substance. The substance didn't quite, I guess, work for you. Uh, I enjoyed it. And it's not a movie that I'm going to rush out and revisit it, but if it was on Netflix or like one of the streaming services again, I would totally watch this. But as I said, don't expect it to be all the way like John Wick. If you go into it wanting it to be John Wick, then you may get let down by the second half of the movie. But I respected it and I liked it. So finishing up my movie review for it, I would have to finish by saying that the watchability factor, if you're a Dev Patel fan, it's there. If you like the trailers, check it out. 7.5. Would I own it on Blu-ray? No. 7.5 for Monkey Man. I'll be. Oh, you know what? I am going to give score. I'm going to give score full point because it's got some really interesting needle drops in it, and I think that's where we're going to get this, because 8 out of 10 is, yeah, that's where I want to land. There's some interesting needle drops in here where you'd be like, that's very effective. That works here. I dig it. And it does it more than a couple times, guys. So good soundtrack and good use of the score to get you in. Does it have a few things in here that'll make you go, well, that's a staph infection. And then they don't address that. So there's a few minor kind of, or how do I phrase it for the First Omen review, where there's like some physical, logical inconsistency. But it's kind of like, if it happened more than once, you'd be like, okay, guys, I'm not buying it. But because it only happens like maybe once or twice is pushing it. Just that one staph infection scene, you can forgive it because it's got so many other good things going for it. It doesn't get bogged down by too many of them. Wait a minute, what are you doing here? Yeah. So Monkey Man, thumbs up, 8 out of 10. Have you guys seen it? Then let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you liked what you've seen, and you want to see me totally tear a new one for The First Omen, I just published my review for that. That's up on the channel right now. And it goes on, guys. I rant. Monkey Man is the better film. So, if you like this kind of stuff, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here on Beer Domains.